Hello Taurus friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Taurus October 2020 Astrology Must Knows. The first major thing to must know this month is that this may be one of the most intense months of the whole year. And there are lots of layers as to what makes that true. And you know I love to go into all of the details so that I can help enrich your understanding of the factors that you're going to be working with this month. So we're going to go into all of them. The first thing that I want to talk about is something really exciting, and that has to do with Venus trines, okay? I talked about this in September too because there were 6 of them, and now we've got another 4 this month, and these are going to be some saving graces amidst a super emotional, super intense, super game changer of a month leading into this October, November, December pinnacle time in history. All right, so this is like major time of ultimate proportions for humanity. The extent to which we've been having crazy changes in the world this year, that's all encapsulated and built up in this month of October, where a lot of the storylines that have been at play are going to start cracking into the new reality that's really coming from the changes. And as we have 2 outer planets getting ready to change from restricted, disciplined, patriarchal, old system Capricorn into new, revolutionary, innovative experiences as Jupiter and Saturn get in there, further deepening this age of Aquarius that we have been moving deeper and deeper into. October is the month of uncertainty, of emotion, of cracking open before we get into that time. But these Venus trines are really nice buoys amidst the month, and they're especially wonderful for Taurus placements because this is all happening in Earth. So that means that when Venus moves through Virgo and makes the most fabulous aspect in all of astrology with Pallas Athena, the star goddess, with Jupiter, with Pluto, with Saturn, it's going to make grand trine energy with Taurus placements, completing this most perfect, sacred, geometrical, harmonious, awesome experience. So you all are the ones even better than the other earth signs. You all are having this beautiful combination that's really, really notable. And all of you will have the chance to feel this. And remember, because Venus is involved, this is love, beauty, money, self-esteem, relationships, things that caused ruckuses in the previous, year since the end of 2019, with these outer planets colliding and things coming to a head. Venus can come in this configuration and smooth it over for everyone in the zodiac, but give the extra kisses to the Taurus placements. So every Taurus will have the potential to feel this, but those of you right in the middle, so we'll say like around May 5th-ish, May 4th, May 5th, and close to, we'll say May 1st through May 10th, but the closer you are to like the 4th, 5th, you're going to get some extra kisses from Pallas Athena in this configuration. And those of you that are like the 7th and 8th, you're also going to get major kisses, and we'll put it again like from the 2nd or so of May into like the 12th. You're going to get kisses from Jupiter. Then those of you towards the end of the sign, so everyone that's in the late degree placement, so that's basically if you're watching for your moon or rising, 20 to 29 degrees, or like the last 10 days of the sign, so like May 10th, 11th, 12th to like May 20th, or whatever it goes to in the year that you were born, the end there, you all are going to get a powerhouse of extra kisses as well from this grand trine. But don't worry, those of you in the early degree placements, even though you don't have the exact lineups, there's still enough to go around for everybody. And you might have placements in Taurus that are in those later degrees, and you might not even know it. So what I always recommend to enhance your use of astrology is search for how to run a free birth chart online, run your free birth chart, and then you can see the degrees of all the planets. And you might have other planets in Taurus. Like when I was first studying astrology, I knew that I was a Sagittarius, but when my chart was run and I looked at it, I realized I had 9 placements in Sagittarius. Explains a lot if you know anything about Sagittarius, right? But those are all at different degrees. So anything that affects Sagittarius, I was looking at the 24-degree mark, but then it extended it to all of these other degrees, and you might have that for your Taurus placements too, if you have more than one Taurus placement. So you can enhance that, and maybe you have some extra kisses that you don't even know about. Okay, so now that we've talked about some beautiful buoying up from this magical sequence of events from this super harmonious grand trine, we can get into all the layers of what's going to make this a crazy doozy of a month, okay? First of all, must know that this is going to be a highly emotional month, and to give you a frame of reference of what it's probably going to be similar to is the June-July timeframe, because there are some factors that are the same. One of the factors in that time frame was that Mercury was retrograde in Cancer, a water sign. Now we're going to have Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So uncertainty comes from Mercury in retrograde, and very emotional uncertainty comes from retrograde of Mercury in a water sign. So that's going to be true for everybody. You might be in a holding pattern this month, and even though things are about to crack, there's so much more news that's going to come in for you as the month goes on and into November and December, that it's not the best time to activate too much or to launch anything or try to make some final decisions, because as soon as you try to make a decision, it's likely to get cast into uncertainty, and new information and options are going to open up. Okay, so it's not the best month to try to pin down an exact date. Must know is to leave your plans as flexible as possible, because they're probably going to change. Last minute things may come in, but the more flexible you are, the happier you'll be. Plus, there might be emotional things for you to deal with, or other people's emotions. Taurians tend to be very consistently taking care of other people and showing up dependably for other people. And so people that you care for might be going through a massive emotional experience. And the freer your calendar is, the fewer commitments that you have at this time, is going to leave you nice and free and open to show up for these people, to show up for yourself, to kind of bask in the uncertainty. Okay, so you have a choice to bask in the uncertainty or to be completely uncomfortable with the uncertainty. And, you know, knowing about this beforehand can help you to make a choice that's easier on you. Now, one very positive thing that I can mention about this, though, is that at least it is occurring in a water sign, which is in a nice flow for Taurus. But remember that Scorpio opposes Taurus. So the questioning, the uncertainty, the crossroads, the information that completely reverses what you thought you were doing is more likely for you, because it's moving back and forth in a 180-degree angle, which is like pulling you in 2 different directions. Sometimes that angle can divide, but sometimes that angle can unify. And ideally, we want to use any push towards where we're feeling pulled to like integrate. So basically, let's say you're being pulled between self and others, which is going to be very likely because the axis that this is happening on is yourself versus others. And also all the planetary energy in Libra and Scorpio, those are relationship energies. So that the questions of relationship, the topics of relationships, uncertainty in relationships, questioning your role in it, trying to do relationships in a more sustainable way, all of those things are going to be very likely to come up. Okay, so that is all going on. Then we have eclipse season again. This is another thing that's similar to the June-July time frame, is that we had 3 eclipses then. We'll have 2 eclipses now. November and December, we've got an eclipse in each of those months. And the reason why I talk about this in October is because there's a building process. Remember that eclipses as an astronomical event occur at the time they occur. Eclipses as an astrological event are really radiating out, you know, into different patterns and cycles of years in the past, years in the future, and also the cycle of the actual eclipses, which is the Gemini-Sag eclipse cycle that started in the summer, or the winter for you all down under, of this year. Okay, so things that came up at that time that may have been introduced or that were new are going to come back up to a boil into the forefront. Maybe they receded into the backdrop. They're going to come up into the forefront again. And October is going to be a prime time for the building of that information, for the news, for the kind of setting up of the scene that's going to be the eclipse stories. Okay, that's building in October. So you might start to get information, but again, there might be uncertainty around it, and it's not necessarily the best time to do something with the information that comes in because more news is coming. And if you have to do something with it, if you can keep that light, low commitment, flexible, knowing that there are going to be changes, or like make a bridge agreement, or like if you have to, if you want to buy a home and you're not really sure about where you want to live or what's going to be going on, and certain things that haven't come to pass yet may determine that you might want to rent a space or play with or stay with a friend or a family member, or something like that, like an interim solution until you start to get the rest of the information. And if you have to launch something, this is not the best month for it. Mars is in retrograde, the oomph is away. Mercury is in retrograde, confusion is abounding. The eclipses are coming, they're going to bring more news. As we get into the middle of November, the end of November, December, January, a lot of the webs of things that have been interfering with clarity and momentum will start to be released, okay? Mercury retrograde cycle will wear off towards the end of, middle end of November. Mars will go direct. The eclipses will come and activate things. So just kind of hang steady there, waiting for the information and just kind of working with what comes up, knowing that you don't know everything yet. Okay, so another factor as to why this month is so crazy emotional has to do with the fact that we have 2 full moons this month. Not 1, but 2. Usually we have 1. And we know that full moons bring things to fullness, completion, fruition. They bring drama. They make people go crazy. They bring high emotion. And so October 1st and October 31st, we have full moons. Whenever there's a second full moon in a sign or calendar month, the second one's called a blue moon. And so the saying, once in a blue moon, this Halloween, Samhain, All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve, whatever that time frame, that's going to have a lot of very interesting, powerful, surprising energies. And some of them can be once in a lifetime occurrences. And that can be good. They can be, really positive, but very surprising because Uranus is conjunct the moon. So that's going to add a lot of intensity. There is quite a lot of energy around reversing things this month. And especially kind of interestingly during the eclipse, the election time, because election day in the United States is actually in the web of this blue moon and this Uranus aspect, and where that's going to be part of the storyline that's tied into the uncertainty in the building and the confusion, and a lot of things that seem like they're going in a certain way could completely reverse with these energies. So it's really a wild card type of thing. So I would definitely keep yourself in a safe space, especially during that October 31st moon, because the surprise element of it with Uranus can be quite jolting in a way that's also not positive. So you just want to have your wits about you. You don't have to stay in fear. You just kind of be more alert, because the veils between worlds are going to be very thin. They're very thin at that time of year anyway. And they're especially thin at a full moon, and they're especially thin on a blue moon. But a blue moon coinciding with all of that, you might be able to communicate with people who've crossed over. You might have insights from the other dimensions. You might have spiritual breakthroughs. Some people can have some instability in their psychological space from this as well. So just kind of be prepared to try to be grounded down and be in a safe space, just in case you're feeling that instability coming up. Okay, so those are factors of what's going on. The relationship energies, as we said, are going to be super strong. Okay, so the month of October is like an encapsulation and an extreme experience of what we've been going through the whole year. So it's kind of like a pinnacle of the storylines that we've had from these outer planets moving through Capricorn, especially Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn. And Pallas Athena is definitely factoring in there, but she moves much more quickly. So when planets move more quickly, they're kissing the situation. But these heavy hitters where they've been conflicting with each other have been causing the coronavirus, the experiences we've been having with the systems breaking down. And so we're teeter-tottering upon a new world, a whole new direction. The energy of Capricorn rules restriction and discipline, and these outer planets clustered and combining in this energy of restriction, plus all the retrogrades this year, have brought this energy of restriction. And it feels like it's going to last forever, but I don't think that it is. I think that once Jupiter and Saturn get into Aquarius, which is going to happen in December, and you might start seeing that brewing, especially getting more towards the end of November, and things will likely start to open up more options, especially into next year, January. Certain things might be decided in December that could be implemented in January, but the energy of Aquarius is much more open to options and innovations and away from restriction compared to Capricorn. But what's interesting is that Saturn that rules Capricorn, which is part of why it's been so heavy because it's been going through the sign it rules, is going to be moving into Aquarius. So this energy of this year has like a storyline that's going to continue for years to come as Saturn moves through Aquarius. And I'm calling it the rise of the grounded or the stable revolutionary, okay? Because Uranus represents the energy of revolutionary, of revolution, of doing something new, of innovation, of just kind of very strange things. And you've noticed we've had a lot of weird experiences this year. And Saturn has been ducking into Aquarius, Jupiter has been dancing near Aquarius. And so a lot of weird things, for better and worse, are going to start to become our norm. Where if you think like, wow, this has been weird, I can't believe it. Like, I remember when we had, VHS tapes and, 8-track tapes, or people, you think that those things have been like, wow, weird. Now there's this digital stuff. Things are going to get very weird very quickly, for better and worse. But along with that, there are going to also be a lot of new possibilities, solutions, systems being brought to the revolutionary energy. Okay, so when you think about a revolutionary, when you think of I think of Pancho Villa and these crazy revolutionaries that fought for freedom and independence, and they were the epitome of this energy of Uranus. Unpredictable, volatile, reckless, and and Uranus rules freedom. So breaking shackles. But a lot of times revolutionaries don't necessarily have a great strategy as to what they're going to do once they overturn whatever it is they're trying to, break free from. And so this continuous energy of Capricorn in Pluto, because Pluto still is going to be in Capricorn, and then Saturn is going to be taking the energy of Capricorn into the new Aquarian ways. It's like this grounded revolutionary, this stable revolutionary, where there's strategy and the extra oomph and wildness that you need to crack through a matrix. So the part of the reason why we haven't been completely cracking into new things in the way that we will be is because it's just been teeter-tottering on the end of the Capricorn energies and dancing in the energies of Aquarius and then ducking back into Capricorn. It's like sticking, your toes in the water and being like, oh, it's too cold. And then but you're going to do the plunge into the cold water starting in December. So this is what's coming. And so our job, we have two big jobs with this, because this is going to happen on an individual level, community level, government level, national level, world level. So we have two big jobs from this combining of these Capricorn and Aquarius energies. One is to look for the parts of the old systems, which are represented by Capricorn, that actually work. Some systems are based in ancient wisdom. Some systems are based in wisdom that's not ancient, but it's hundreds of years old. There are pieces and pearls of things that people figured out already. We don't have to, redesign the wheel. And those pieces that are our perspectives, our belief systems are part of our systems, our ways of, the things that work for us and the greater, picture are what we need to take with us. So this movement into Aquarius is not completely erratic and reckless. It can't be by nature of how the planets are moving. That's why I'm calling it the rise of the stable revolutionary or the grounded revolutionary, because we're taking the pieces as an anchor that worked. Obviously a lot of the systems are getting stripped away, but we're keeping the pieces that work as the structure and the grounding cord so that we can more fearlessly add the new things in. So look in your life and your daily experience, even just the things you do every day, how you run your budgets or how you run your daily interactions. And then start to bring that into the systems at your work, anything if you're responsible for something, where you're breaking through into the new ways while holding a steady grounding cord. So that's the first thing. Excuse me. The second thing is to look for the places where you need to be more disciplined and stable, and then because you're too wild and unpredictable and not grounded, and then look for the places where you've been too stable and too grounded, and you need to add a little bit more of like the wild sort of open innovation, taking more chances and taking more risks. So it's like the energy of calculated risk, really, that we're moving into. And Taurus energy likes the idea of a calculated risk, right? If you're going to take it at all, we want it to be calculated. So you can really excel here. But what you've got to push yourself a little bit more towards is identifying the areas in your life that need to have more risk. Okay, Taurus is by nature, unless they have other placements that go against this, are more risk averse. All right, but there are places where this Aquarian energy wants you to step into some risk. It can be and should be calculated. So where can you do that? You know, that's your second job of what to figure out here. Okay, so the last piece that I want to talk about, actually there's two more things. One thing has to do with the energy of this month as a major transition. This year has been a transition, but again, this month is like the encapsulation of the year. So we know what the definition of transition is, but in the birthing community, transition is the time when the cervix is dilated and the baby can come out at any time. Sometimes it takes a while for the baby to come out once that happens, but that energy of transition is very easily marked by the way that the mother is. Okay, the mother will say things like, I can't do it, this is impossible, there's no way, that this is going to happen, the baby's never coming out, things like that, right? And you might feel that way in October, even into November a bit here, where the new thing is never going to happen. Everything's going to stay stuck and restricted forever. There's, no chance for anything to work out. Everything's impossible. And at that magic moment, the surrender happens, and then the baby's born, right? And that's what's going to happen here. So just kind of know that going into it. If you're feeling that, then kind of have that be an alert that Annie said, okay, you might be feeling bad because you're feeling hopeless, but that's actually a good thing because that's what comes before the surrender, which comes before the new birth, which is pending into November, December, and beyond. The second thing that I wanted to talk about of these last two have to do with the energy of fear coming up in a huge way this month. And there are multiple reasons for that. First of all, the emotion of a high emotion, can bring fear. Second of all, the uncertainty of knowing changes are coming and not knowing what they're going to be or how they're going to affect you. And then another thing, of course, the eclipses bring that feeling of fear because you feel like things are about to change, right? And that really wells it up in a big way. But there's another piece here too. I've been talking about in previous months how Mars is going to be bringing up, and Mars retrograde for the second half of 2020 is going to be bringing up resentment and anger issues. And gallbladders and livers across the world are having royal conniption fits, basically, with this energy. And places where there's anger and resentment, and places where there's lifestyles that are not, interfering with these the work of these organs, it's going to be coming up, and resentment and anger has a chance to be stripped, and Mars retrograde is kind of putting all this into the forefront. But Libra is very prominent at this time, and Libra rules the kidneys, and there's a fear circuit through the body that starts at the adrenals, okay, so the fight, flight, or freeze, and it flows down into the kidneys. At the bottom of the kidneys, the psoas muscle starts. It attaches at the vertebrae, and then it goes through the hips and then down to the top of the leg bone and the hip bone in here, and then there's a piriformis muscle involved here, and then down the legs, concentrating at the knees and down the feet. Okay, so that's a fear circuit. The psoas muscle is a hip flexor. It's tight when you're sitting. And most people don't do anything with their body that causes a hip extension, which is what flexes or stretches these tight muscles. And this and the piriformis muscle, which is a hip rotator, the energy of fear gets really tight and wrapped up there, and it stops the cycle, and it makes it well up all here, and then it makes it well up there, and it loses its flow. So part of the way that you cannot be paralyzed with fear, because these muscles can actually stop you from moving forward, like if you have sciatica, the piriformis muscle being inflamed can be a cause of sciatica, then keeping these muscles stretched and as flexible as possible can actually help your fear circuit when it starts at the adrenals with the fight or flight to just flush, to flow. So stretching the psoas and the piriformis muscles, keeping them flexible, can actually help you to not be as paralyzed with fear, keep the fear channel just flowing instead of, just quivering and being, held back by it. If you have brittle bones or have had a hip or knee replacement or something medical that could interfere with stretching these muscles, because they could be kind of intense, then definitely get help to get these released. Practitioners can help you with this and how to do this safely. But for other people, if you just look up the psoas muscle, PSOAS, and then the piriformis, PIRIFORMIS, and then see how to stretch and release these, and you do that regularly, I really believe, especially if you're paying attention, you will notice a decrease in the amount of fear that you're carrying. The second thing that you can do to release fear is the EFT, emotional freedom technique. Tons of free resources online. I talk about this all the time because it works. It actually has been scientifically proven to lower cortisol levels, to boost your immune function, and get you out of fight or flight and give you access again to your prefrontal cortex that is involved in higher thinking and reasoning. So, when you lose your capacity to figure out a good solution because you're afraid, that's because the fight or flight mechanism hijacks the prefrontal cortex. And so EFT helps to get you back into this space where you can, find a higher solution. So if you want to have more information about this month, I have so many free resources that I do for you regularly. You can have a write-up of all the sweet and salty dates. And by the way, there are double the salty dates again compared to the sweet ones. So, we've got a chance for major alchemy this month. It's not something to fear, even though I'm telling you straight up that probably you will be afraid. It's something to conquer. It's something to push through. It's something to convert to gold. And so you can see the dates and the aspects that are sweet and salty in my write-up. When you go to anniehelpsyou.com and sign up for my free email newsletter, I only send you out 3 emails a month. I don't like to be spammed, so I don't spam, and they all have information of resources that I've created to help with the whatever's going on astrologically. And you also get my free 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine when you sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. And you get this write-up of the month with the general transits and a written version of a lot of the things that I mentioned, and then all of the sweet and salty dates into your inbox 1 month early. I also do written horoscopes, and you can look for all these websites I'm giving you: anniehelpsyou.com, cozybysweetstarlight.com. They're all in the notes underneath if you click on more and the arrow button. At cozybysweetstarlight.com, I do written horoscopes that are super simple, very light, very easy to follow, not technical like the videos are. So, and I often talk about different things than I talk about in the videos. So you can check that out. And if you want to take free classes, including my Unleash Your Money Magnet course, that used to be a paid course, it's free now at Luminous Life Multiversity. You can go to lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. You can also see my paid courses. Most of my offerings are free, but I do have a few paid courses that keep everything, me being able to show up for all the free stuff. And you can see that course, Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course, which will equip you to do whatever you'd like to do in astrology, whether it's just for yourself and your path. If you think I go into a lot of details in the videos, you should see what I go through into the course. It's very, very comprehensive. And if you want to be a professional astrologer, I will give you all of what you need in order to do that successfully. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.